Hello, everyone. Hi, good evening. Good evening. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Hello, guys. Hi, everyone. Hi, Arka. Good evening. I hope I'm audible, right? Perfect. I can see people are joining. People are joining. Good evening, Saeed. Good evening, Shubham. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. Okay, I guess we can start in a few minutes. Please ask your rest of the friends to join. Audible and visible. Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation. So please ask your friends to join as soon as they can. Put a message in the WhatsApp group, right? And then we'll start our class properly. I can see only 14 students here, not more than that, and that's something that we cannot start with, unfortunately. Good evening, Sukhjot. Good evening, Sharad. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. I hope all of you are doing very well, and we will just start in few minutes. But let's wait for rest of the students to join, and then accordingly we are going to start our class. Good evening, Smita. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So let me put a message in the WhatsApp group and then we can start our class. Good evening, Basu. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Perfect. I can still see only 17 people here. Not sure where rest of the people are, but I guess we can start our class. In our previous session, we discussed some very important topics related to our CSS. And finally, today will be our last class on CSS. And from next week, we are going to start our JavaScript. Good evening, Suryansh. Good evening. Good evening, guys. So let's not waste our any more time. Let's start our class. I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know whether my screen is visible now or not. Is my screen visible, guys? I think it should be visible, right? Perfect. Great, great, great. Okay. So let's start our class. In our previous class, let me try to first of all set up the environment. In the meantime, I request few of you, any one of you, at least 2, 3 students to put a message in the WhatsApp group and ask them to join as soon as they can. Okay, please do that. So let me open up my badge and let's try to open it in some VS Code, and also let me set up the rest of the environment. Today's class is going to be one of the very important classes that we will have. Why? Because today we will understand one of the very important fundamental of our CSS, that's called responsive web design. But provided only if you guys stay here up till end, and if you guys put a message in the WhatsApp group and ask rest of the students to join as well, and then we can start our class properly. Okay, I guess we can start our class. Shall we start our class, guys? I need a confirmation in the chat. Good evening, Adarsh. Good evening. So somewhere there is something happening. Okay, so there was my speaker was on somewhere and now I have closed it. Okay, perfect. Great. I guess we can start. So let's quickly try to revise what we discussed in our previous class. Our previous class was one of the very important classes that we discussed. We understood a lot of things, but the most two important things that we discussed were transition and animations. We understood that whenever we talk about our web development deals in most of the times with transitions, deals with animations. Now, how to implement a proper transition in a website? We understood few of the properties related to transition, whether it was transition, transition property, transition duration, transition delay, transition timing function. And then finally we went to a different topic called as animations. We understood that whenever we want our style to be changed from one style to another, then another to another, but in a continuous time, it's not like just a transition once, but multiple transitions, lot of transitions based on our requirements, what our requirements are, and then we simply divide our time into multiple transitions. If you quickly try to see what we discussed in our previous class, let me try to open up my browser here so that you can understand this is what we discussed in our previous class, this is what we created in our previous class. So let's quickly try to jump over here and let's try to understand more things related to transition animations, and then we will start our rest of the topics and we will close our css today. But I can still see only 23 students here, and I'm not happy about that, honestly speaking, because I'm expecting more than that. This time was selected by you guys, right? I made a poll and I asked you which time you want for this class, and you selected 6 to 8. Otherwise, I could have given this lecture on 10 to 12 in the morning itself as well. So please and please respect that, and please stay here until end. Okay, let's start our today's class now. When we look at this example, you can clearly understand what we are actually doing. Let me try to remove this transform property as of now. I will remove this transform property from everywhere, and then we will try to understand rest of the CSS animation properties that we can implement on our code over there, on our component that we have. As of now, if you look at this particular animation, you can clearly see it starts from here and then simply does a square kind of shape. Nothing. That's it, right? But what are the other properties that we can take care related to animations? We know there are two properties that are very mandatory: animation name and animation duration. Like if you want an animation, you have to target an element, give it an animation name, and then animation duration. Then we understood. Then once we give it an animation name, how we can define animations for it based on keyframes. Like at 0% of the time, this is what we want. At 10% of time, this is what I want. So for that, we understood we have to use added keyframes rule. Then finally, we can understand what 0% represents, what 25% represents, so on and so forth. So this 0% represents of the duration. So 0% of 6 seconds, 25% of 6 seconds, 50% of 6 seconds, so on and so forth. But if you right now look at this particular animation, you can clearly understand that my animation, as soon as I refresh my page, my animation is starting, but it's only going only once. What if I want my animation to run for infinite amount of time? By infinite amount of time, I simply mean जितने टाइम मेरा वेब पेज ओपन है, फॉर हाउ लॉन्ग माई वेब पेज इज ओपन, आई वांट दिस एनिमेशन टू कीप गोइंग. For that, target your element, and there is a property that we use. It's called animation iteration count. Animation iteration count means how many times you want your animation to actually happen over there, execute over there. So if I add this point of time, right, 2 over here, you can clearly see now animation is started 0, 50, and then 75, and then 100 once, then it will again go over here. So it will actually repeat the animation 2 times. So animation iteration count is how many times you want this animation to happen. Let me reduce the width of this element, and let me reduce this width height of this element. Okay, let's make it 50-50. So this is how it goes, right? Now if I wanted to execute it infinite times, for that I can simply write infinite, and you can clearly see that this animation now will never stop, never ever this animation is going to stop. Okay, but if we want some limited number, simply remove this infinite and write that number however you want. Completely up to you. So if I write 5, this animation will execute itself only 5 times. That's what this animation iteration count means. Similar to our transitions, we also have one very important property with which we can implement delay. So for that, what we have to do is we have to simply implement a property called as animation delay. So let's suppose I will simply give it animation delay as 3 seconds. What does it mean? It means when the page refreshes, after that it will take 3 seconds for my animation to execute, start executing. So that's what we mean by animation delay. Animation delay 3 seconds. So if I refresh my page, you can clearly see it is delaying the animation by 3 seconds. I hope that makes sense as well. Moving forward, remember in our transitions, we discussed in our yesterday's class one of the very important properties called as transition timing function. What does transition timing function mean? Simply, how do you want to control your speed curve of your animation? And if you want to control your speed curve of your animation, in that particular case, we use transition timing function. In a similar way over there, we also have animation timing function. And whatever the values we discussed there, same values are here. Now, what were those values? Those values were like linear. So if I write linear over here, linear means throughout this animation, the speed should be linear. By default, it's ease in, which means slow start and then take up the speed. But if I talk about my animation timing function linear, it means now the animation is going to execute itself linearly. Throughout this particular thing, it will be same. There's one other value called as ease in. So I can write ease in. What does ease in mean? Slow start. You can see it's going to after 3 seconds slow very slowly, and then it will take speed. Slow and speed, slow and speed, slow and speed. That's what ease in means. So slow start speed, slow start speed. There's one other value that we have. It's called ease out. Now, what does ease out mean? Fast start and then ease in, fast start and then slow end, fast start and slow end, fast start, slow end. And after that, we have one another value called ease in out. What does it mean? Slow start and slow end. In between, do whatever you want to do. You can clearly observe that over here as well. So this is what we mean animation timing function, similar to what we have discussed inside our transition. Now let me try to remove this property, or instead of removing this property, what I will do is I will try to comment this. Also, let's remove it because I think you have understood, you might have taken a note of this. This one very important property that is called animation direction. Okay, what does animation direction actually mean? As of now, I will implement normal. What does normal mean? Normal means whatever the animation is, in whatever time they are mentioned, follow the same direction, which means go to 0, 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 100. And it will always go to that 0 to 100, then again 0 to 100, then again 0 to 100. But if I write alternate, let me write alternate, and this is what alternate means. So if I refresh my page, let me remove this animation delay here quickly. You please observe how alternate will behave. Normally direction, but once it reaches over here, then it will come back. Alternate means 0 to 100, then 100 to 0, 0 to 100, 100 to 0, 0 to 100, 100 to 0. That's what alternate means. So if you want, sometimes you want like this is what you want, this is what you want, forward then backward, forward then backward. In that case, you can use alternate. Then one another very important value that we have, it's called reverse. Reverse means go from 100 to 0, then 100 to 0, then 100 to 0. So it's not normal, but it's vice versa of normal. That means alternate. And to this, we can also have, alternate reverse as well. So alternate reverse means the first will be reverse and then it will be normal. That's what alternate reverse means. So if you simply want to control the direction of your animation, in that particular case, what we can have is we can have alternate direction. That's it. Sorry, animation direction. That's it. Simple as that. Now, all of these properties are just like those cherry on the cake, because you already have created your animation. Now to support this animation, how I can manipulate the things, we have discussed these properties. But also remember one very important point here. There's one very important thing that we need to put in our mind, that whether we talk about alternate reverse or we talk about alternate, there must be an animation iteration count. Like if I talk about only one, okay, if I talk about only one, you will simply understand that it is simply alternate. You are not going to understand whether it's alternate reverse or not. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Or whether I talk about alternate, directly alternate. Even in this case as well, if it will directly start like normal, it will not behave like alternate. So if you want your alternate reverse or alternate to work, show its effect, the animation iteration count must be more than one. Let's suppose two. Now in this case, you can simply see that it will go to 0 to 100 and then 100 to 0. So over here, alternate is visible and you can completely understand that as well. Now, there's one last property that we are going to discuss in animations, and that is the most important property, not with respect to how you will implement it or whether you will implement it or not, but with respect to interviews. Whenever in animation I have been asked in interviews a question, this is the property that I have been asked to me. What is that property called? The property is called animation iteration, sorry, animation fill mode. Animation fill mode. What does animation fill mode mean? One of the very important properties, as I said, related to interviews. Maybe you might not implement it in your website, but with respect to interviews, it's quite very simple and easy to understand, but very important property. The first value that we will discuss is it has three values. Number one is forwards, number two is backwards, number three is both. Now look at this, what forwards actually mean. What is the by default background color of this particular div? It's blue. And let me reduce the time over there. Let's say it's 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds. By default, the background color of this div is blue. Very good. And I am simply telling it add 0% of the time frame, make the background color as red. Then I will simply tell it go over there, add the 25% of make it aqua, and add the 100% make it dark olive green. As of now, my direction is alternate, but let me keep it default, which is normal, right? Now look at this, what will happen once this animation will end itself. In our previous class we have discussed one thing. Once the animation will end, whatever its normal style is, that will be implemented. But if you observe at this point of time, once the animation ends, whatever the last frame the animation goes through, that's what is being implemented on the element. That's what animation fill mode forwards mean. You did not understood it, let me repeat. Let me remove this animation fill mode. Look at this. Since my animation iteration count is 2, it will simply start this animation, will behave normally. But once this animation is done, completed, you can clearly see my animation goes back to whatever its normal style is. You can clearly see its background color is blue, and that's what's getting implemented here. But once I get back my animation fill mode, the animation, once it's ending, whatever its last frame is, I am telling it keep that. Do you see now the background color is not blue, but it's dark olive green? That's what animation fill mode means. Once the animation ends, what is it that I want with the element? Am I clear? Do we understand what animation fill mode forwards mean? Yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat before I move forward. Everyone, come on. Very good, right? So, also one another very important point, that it is not about 100%. Keep the 100% frame attached to the element. It's not about that. Let me try to make you understand what I mean. Let's suppose there is no animation fill mode. Tell me one thing, guys. Ignore this output. According to this particular code, how many times my animation will run? 2 times. And once the animation will end, you can clearly see its background color remains blue, which means whatever its original style was, that is getting affected over there once the animation will end. But if I get back my animation fill mode forwards, observe, once the animation will end itself, whatever the last frame my animation goes through, that is being kept on the element. Is it now blue, Shubham? Is it now blue? Is it now blue, Suryansh? No, it's dark olive green. That's what animation fill mode forwards mean. Whatever the last frame my animation goes through, keep that effective on my element. That's what animation fill mode forwards mean. Now, one another very important point. Please tell me yes or no in the chat if you understand this question. Do you think last frame is always going to be the 100% frame? Whatever frame I am implementing on 100%, do you think that will be the last frame my element goes through? Yes or no? What do you think about that? That last frame of my element is going to be 100%. Is that the correct statement or not? That's what my question is. Quickly, guys, quickly, give me an answer. I can see one yes in the chat. Anyone else? It depends, first of all. 100% frame is not the last frame. No. It depends. If my animation direction is normal, then this will be the last frame my element goes through. But let's suppose it is alternate over here. Now if it is alternate, what does it mean? 0, 25, 50, 75%, 100%. But 75, 50, 25 and 0%. Do you think now the animation fill mode keeps dark olive green attached or red? It is red. So last frame, I am talking about last frame. Now last frame depends on what my direction is. If my direction is normal, then it will go to 0 to 100, then 0 to 100. But if it's alternate, 0 to 100, then 100 to 0 if my iteration count is 2. So it depends on how much my iteration count is, and then what will be the last frame. Now last frame is not supposed to be just 100%. In one case it can be 100%, in another case it can be 0%. So look at what you are using, implement the properties, understand the properties. Does it make sense? I need a quick confirmation in the chat whether we understood what forwards mean, right? Can anyone tell me over here why is the background color of my div red once the animation stops? Why is it red once the animation stops? Why is it? Why is it red when the animation stops? That's what my question is. Because according to the properties I have implemented, my animation iteration count is 2, which means my animation will run 2 times. My animation direction is alternate, which means the first time it will go to 0 to 100, then 100 to 0. So once the second time animation stops, 0% will be the last frame my animation goes through. That is why it is red, since the 0% frame is background color red. So that's what animation fill mode back forwards mean. But there's one another value that you can use. It's called backwards. Okay. Now, what does backward mean? According to you guys, what do you think backwards will mean? If I implement backwards, what do you think backwards will mean? Any guesses? Any guesses that you have? As of now, you can clearly see, even if I implement animation fill mode backwards, my element goes to below. My element, the original style that I've implemented, it actually goes to that. So what is animation fill mode? Animation fill mode means when the element starts this to animate. When the element starts to animate, if before that there is a delay, in that delay maintain the first frame, which means delay will be only when I am using animation delay property. So that's why I have to go over it. I have to use animation delay. So without animation delay, animation fill mode backwards does not make any sense. So let me make it 6 seconds for your better understanding. So there is animation delay, but do you see in the animation delay now there is red? It was not below. It was not below. You can see it's red. What does that mean? In this delay, it will maintain the first frame of my animation. That's what animation fill mode backwards mean. That's one very important point. If I remove the animation, if I remove this property, animation fill mode, you can clearly see in it is delay, over there it is below. It's below. Because I'm not telling it how to fill my animation in its free time. But once I implement animation fill mode backwards, in the delay, it maintains the first frame. So animation fill mode backwards will only be implemented on the delay, not once the animation is ended. No, but in the delay, if there is delay. So animation fill mode backwards will only work once there's a delay. If there's no delay, animation fill mode cannot work. Simple as that. Okay, moving forward. Now, if we want both, in order to implement both, we have one another value called as both. It means in the delay, it will implement the first frame, and once the animation is ended, after that, it will maintain the last frame it goes through. And according to that, it's also the 0th% frame. And that's what you can see. Okay, I need a yes or no in the chat whether we understood this property or not. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Am I clear with this? Am I clear with this? Yes or no? Do we understand this animation fill mode? It's a very important property. Very important property. Okay. Now, I have a simple question. If you are saying, sir, yes, we understood this, let me ask you a question. If my animation iteration count is infinite, this is the interview question. If my animation iteration count is infinite, and then I will implement animation fill mode that is forwards. Will forwards work if my animation iteration count is infinite? Will my animation fill mode forwards work? That's what my question is. Come on, guys, in the chat. Need an answer. There's nothing that I'm doing right now with the position property, Prince. If there's an animation iteration count infinite, does my animation fill mode forwards? Does it make any sense? Of course not. Why? Because animation fill mode forwards mean once the animation stops, then implement the last name. So if it does not stop, what is the point of implementing animation fill mode forwards? Another question. If there is no animation delay, does my animation fill mode backwards make any sense? Absolutely not. Because animation fill mode backwards mean that there must be a delay. So you need to understand, keep those necessary conditions in your mind. And with this, we have completed our animations as well. So you should go and you should definitely explore a lot of things in animations. You should know how to implement animations later on using JavaScript as well. And there are a lot of things that you can implement with your help of animations on text, on images, on videos, on XYZ things. Whatever you can think of, animations can be implemented anywhere. I have a simple question. First of all, before I move forward, there's some noise in the background. Is that noise audible to you guys as well? Then I will take care of it first. Please let me know. Sometimes in between, is the noise audible to you guys as well? If that is the case, I will try to. No, okay, in that case, we can take. Yes, sir. Some are saying no, some are saying yes. I guess maximum are saying no. So in that case, it is completely fine. Moving forward, now, I as I said that today's class will be the last class related to CSS. Okay, and we have completed most of the properties. Not most of the properties, but I would say important properties. But there are a lot of properties that you need to understand on your own as well. For example, I will teach you few of those properties, but you, from your side, you have to work a little bit more. So if I give you an assignment, because now I'm going to give you regular assignments, as I said, I had some work, now that is done, so I will be launching continuously lot of assignments now. And in those assignments there might be a implementation of a property which I might not have discussed. So you have to work a little bit from your side as well and discuss those properties. For example, let me create a file, and this, the name of the file will be properties.html. Okay, and in this case, let me try to go live. First of all, let me open this file. Now see, let me create some content over here. Okay, so let me open this file. Okay, sorry, so allow me a second. Let me refresh the page and let me open go live with this particular website. Okay, let me create a text, any text that I have, h1, and this text is going to have a, let's create, instead of h1, let's create a p tag. Okay, so p tag, in this I will simply create lorem 100. Done. And you can see a proper text in the output. Related to text, there are a lot of properties that you might not have discussed in this entire course. For example, I will go into a style and I will simply tell it target my p tag. The first important property which we already have seen is font size. So if I implement font size will increase the font size. There's one other property which I might have implemented called as color. Color is equals to like this. So if I implement color below will be implemented on text. So color is the text property. But these properties we already discussed. But what if I want to change some other properties? This one property which I might not have discussed is called font weight. Now, when I say font weight can be bold, font weight can be normal, it can be light. And if I use a bigger value, let's suppose 700 over here, you can clearly see the font weight of this text got increased. What other properties? I hope font weight you understood. You can directly write font weight is equals to bold. That value will also work. And this is bold. You can write bolder as well. And this is bolder. So there are a lot of properties which I might not have discussed. Some other properties. Let's suppose font family. So if you want to change the font family of your text, you can simply implement font family and then implement a font family in front of it. Now there's one catch that you need to remember over here. Browser do not recognize all of the font families, not all, just some gine limited fonts. But if you want to implement any font family that you actually saw on the internet, just check its name, go to Google Fonts. There's one website called as Google Fonts. And if you go over here in the Google Fonts, then go simply through fonts and understand which font you want. Let's suppose over here I want simply a font that looks like this. Okay. Now open this. Simply select over here. Extra light 200, light 300, regular 400. This 400, 500 number represents font weight. So any of them, you simply understood, okay, this is the font family that I require. If you want to search any other, this Google Fonts stores all of the fonts that you can think of. If you want your p tag to look like this, simply open this. Okay. But how can I implement this font, this Veronica Burian or whatever its pronunciation is? I want to implement it for my text. How can I implement it? You cannot. Even if you write this font family there, my browser cannot identify this because browser do not recognize all of the fonts. So what you need to do is you simply need to go over there, select its first of all its font weight. Let's suppose this is the font weight that I actually want to implement, this one. Okay. So what I will do is I will simply click on get font, and over there I can simply say get embedded code. Once I click on get embedded code, this is what actually I need to implement from here. So no add the rate import. This is what I need. So once you implement get code, go to add the rate import, simply import this like add the rate import. So if I copy this add the rate import, go over here and implement it here inside my style. So this can be implemented inside style only. And then I will simply go and implement my font family like this. So if I now go to my VS Code and target my element that I have, so let me go here and I will simply say font family is equal to this. Now it makes sense. Why does it make sense? Because I have imported it from the Google family. So now it should be implemented on my element as well. But if I do not import the Google fonts from the internet, then in that case, it does not recognize what this font is. So it can only and only recognize if you have imported that font. If you import the font, you can clearly see a different font in the output. So my agenda and my conclusion over here is that when you talk about any text element inside your HTML, whatever property you can think related to that HTML text element, anything can be implemented, any single thing. Whether we talk about font family, whether we talk about font size, font weight, color, any kind of thing. What other properties can be implemented on my element? Text element. Let's suppose I want to implement a letter spacing. As of now, there is some default value for letter spacing. I can also implement property letter spacing. Let's suppose I will simply say 10 pixel. 10 pixel is the gap between every text over here that I want. So you can clearly see that between my text now, there's 10 pixel of space between text, right? In a similar way, line spacing or line height, I guess, should be the property. So line height, let's suppose 20 pixel. So if I implement line height over there, you can clearly see now line height got 20 pixel. Let me increase this. So if I simply go increase 80 pixel, line height will be 80 pixel like this, gap between the line. So anything that you can think of, it is there. You just have to understand what the property is. Whatever you can think of related to CSS, already people have created a property for it. You want underline everywhere. I might have already discussed that. We have property called as text decoration. In front of which you simply want one kind of text underline, the text decoration you want. Let's suppose I want dotted. Then where you want it and what should be the size of it? 5 pixel. Then where you want it? I want it underline. So I can simply go right under line. So let me simply go right underline like this. And once I implement it, every single place there's a dotted underline below my text. Am I clear? Right? And I want this line over as well. So I can simply go implement over line. So let me go right over line, and it's at the top as well. If I want it in between of the content, I will simply implement line through. So if I add line through in between this text is this line as well. So my point that I'm trying to make you understand is that there's a lot of properties which we might not have discussed. And after this course is done, don't say Adfar sir ne padhaya nahi hai. You have to do a little bit homework, little bit mehnat from your side as well, and try to find out like what are the text properties. There's a lot of text properties that we have. What are the image properties? A lot of image properties that we have. What are the box model properties? One of the properties, for example, there is, let's suppose I will simply go here and let me try to comment the sign of p code. I will simply go here and let me implement an div. Okay, let's create a div, and to this div I will simply implement h1 tag, and that h1 tag simply says hello. Okay, now let me go over here, let me target this div. For this div, what I will do is I will simply give it height, and height is equal to, let's suppose, 200 pixel. Then I will simply go and give it width. Now once I give width, width is equal to, let's suppose, 200 pixel, and let me give it some border as well. So for border I will give it 2 pixel, solid and red, and you can clearly visualize this div, right? Now this is box model, right? We have discussed our box model. Now one of the properties in box model is I can implement margin. Padding. So let me go here and let me implement padding. So padding is equals to 50 pixel. Now once I implement 50 pixel, you can clearly understand when I implemented padding 50 pixel, it implemented padding from all sides: left side, right side, top side, bottom side. Padding is implemented. But once you implement padding, what it actually does is it increases this pixel that you have added in its original height, in its original width. So now the height was supposed to 200 pixel only. So the height of this element, if you go over here inside the computed value, and let me try to find width. So for this particular div, width is 200 pixel, right? Height is equals 200 pixel. But if you look at this padding bottom, padding left, padding right, padding top, it is 50 from all sides. So 50 from here, 50 from here. Width will be now 300 pixel. Then if you increase margin 2 pixels as well, so 2 pixel, 2 pixel, it's 304 pixel width. So when you implement margin and when you implement padding, the original height, the total height and total width of an element gets increased. But let's suppose I don't want that. I don't want that. I want whatever its height is, whatever its width is. If I then implement padding of any value here, that padding should be adjusted in its original height, original width. Okay, let me create one another div here to give you a difference. So let me go here, let me go and let me try to implement another div with the same text. So let me create another div like this. For the first div, I will simply go give it a class. Class is equals to div1. For second div over there, I will simply give it class, and class is equals to div2. Now this is going to be my hello1, this is going to be my hello2. So I have two divs, and let me target my dot div1. So if you see my dot div1, this is my dot div1. Let me copy the same code, and I will simply go and implement it like this. And over here, I will simply say dot div2. Now, both of these divs, let me implement some margin bottom here. So margin bottom is equals to 20 pixel. Okay, so we have our two boxes here. Very good. But if I now go to my div 2, let's suppose, over here I will implement a property called as box sizing, and I will tell it border box. Now once I implement box sizing border box, what happened over here? You can clearly visualize the change between my div1 and my div2. Now what does this property actually mean? It means that whenever I implement box sizing border box for an element, for that particular element, adjust its padding and border width in its original width and height. So even if I implement my padding inside this particular element, let me make it 30, it will try to implement this padding in the original width that I have. It is not going to increase the width or height in this element. But if I go over here, increase the padding here, where box sizing border box is not mentioned, it will simply increase the width and height for the whole div. This is what we mean by box sizing property. Am I clear? Do you understand? I might have not discussed this in my box model, but now I got I got kind of you know, मुझे याद पड़ गई, मुझे इसका इंग्लिश नहीं आता है. I reminded it myself, and this is in front of you, right? Am I clear? Yes or no? So this is box sizing. So we need to understand in a similar way, there will be a lot of properties that we might have not discussed in this course. But you have to understand, you have to discuss them from your side. Let's talk about one another set of properties. Quickly, quick overview, okay? Let's go and let's try to understand there's a div, okay? And for this div, what I will do is I will simply give it a class. So let me give it a class here, and class is equals to main div. Let me target this main div, or let's try to comment these two hellos as well, okay? Let me go here. So div. So over here I will simply go write dot main. For this dot main, I will simply implement some width. Let me implement width is equals to 300 pixel. Done. Let me implement height. So height is equals to 300 pixel. Now for this particular thing, I can implement background color, right? So I will implement background color. Background color is equals, let's suppose, aqua, and you can clearly visualize the div in the background. But is it the only choice for my background? Can I create anything else for my container apart from color? Have you seen any kind of containers where instead of background color, there was background image? Have you seen such kind of things? Of course. And for that, when I even write background, you can see how many properties are there related to background. See, background origin, background attachment, blend mode, position, visibility, filter, clip, size, repeat, and XYZ properties, which we might have not discussed in this course. But these are important properties, and you will implement background image properties. So if I want, instead of background color, I want background image. So for that, we have a property called as background image, and over here I will simply implement URL. Now in URL, simply give it the location of the image, whether from internet or from your what is called a folder, okay? So I have my images, one image that I had, I guess, cat image I already have. So let's try to create this cat image as the background. So I will simply go to dot slash, and then I will simply drag down to the images folder, then slash, I will implement download.jpg. Now once I implement download.jpg, you can clearly see now for my element there is an image visible. There's no background color now, background image. If I go here, let me implement some text in it, which is Adfar Rashid. Okay. And you can clearly see there's Adfar Rashid visible here. Though you are not able to clearly visualize it, but let me make its color as white. So if I make color white, now you might see Adfar Rashid here. And you can see now instead of a color background, I have an image background. But there's still one problem here if you look at it. My image, the image that I have, it's a small image. It's not that big image. If you look at its aspect ratio, it might be 100 cross 100, something like that. But what is the box that I have? 300 cross 300. So this image does not fit my container. That's why you can see it's repeating the image. By default, it will try to fit the container. Even if it has to repeat the images, by default, it will repeat it. But let's suppose I don't want this image to be repeated. I don't want it. So in that particular case, I can simply go write a property called as background repeat. Now in background repeat, I don't want it to repeat. So no repeat. Okay, no repeat. So if I don't want to repeat, this is what the background image is going to be. By default, it will repeat the background image through its x-axis, through its y-axis, in both axes. But let's suppose I don't want to repeat it. I simply want it like that. So in this case, you can see whatever the original size of image is, it takes that much background and rest it fills with background color. So if there's no background color, in that case, it won't fill background color. But if there is background color, it will keep the background color like this. Now let's suppose if you look at this particular case before background repeat, it was repeating the image in X direction, in Y direction. But I don't want that. I want it to be repeated only in X direction or only in Y direction. In that case, I can simply tell it in my X direction, do not repeat. So background repeat let me see if what is the property. So background repeat in X. Okay, so over here the value is not actually, it's not property background repeat, it's no repeat X, repeat X only, something like this. So now it will repeat it only in X direction. And in a similar way, if I want to repeat in Y direction, repeat Y, and you can see now in only Y direction. But let's suppose I don't want to repeat it. In that particular case, I can simply say no repeat. Simply keep it like this. But then, how can we fit the image to the whole container? For that, I can simply use a property called as background size. Now I can simply tell background size is 300 pixel, 300 pixel. So now once I implement 300 pixel, 300 pixel, you can clearly see it takes the whole box. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I might be a little bit fast in today's class. I might be. There's a huge possibility of that. But I am trying to make you understand lot of things you need to work on your own, explore on your own. So once I implement background sounds 300 pixel, 300 pixel, my container, my width and height of the container is 300 pixel, 300 pixel, and it takes up the whole container, right? There are some other values of background size. So one of the values is I have to contain. Now what contain means is contain means contain the element over there and maintain the aspect ratio. So contain means contain the whole container and maintain the aspect ratio. This one other value that's called cover. Now what does cover mean? Cover over there you can see it's still same, but actually cover means that I wherever the image is I'm going to zoom it. Now zoom this image, and keep zooming until this image is fit on my container. Okay, I might have said the vice versa of cover and contain, but I think you can figure out that on your own. That's not the issue, right? So lot of properties there. Let's suppose there's no background size property. This by default, if you look at the image, the position of it is left top of the container. Let's suppose I want to change that. In that particular case, I can simply go right background position. Background position, what? Center. Now once I write center, the position of the image is center now. It receives two attributes in front of it, center, and then second thing, let's suppose center left, so I will write center left. So center left, this is the background position. In a similar way, let's suppose center right, so center right. I want top right, so I can simply go right top, so top right. Now if you write only one value in front of this background position, second value automatically becomes center, so top center. If I write bottom, so it becomes bottom center. So there is bottom double O. So bottom center. And if I write over there center, it becomes center center. Center center automatically. If I write over the left, it becomes left center. If I write over the right, it becomes right center. But if you want left top, left bottom, right bottom, you can mention those two values here. And there are a lot of other properties that we have inside background, and I think you can figure out them on your own. I already have a video uploaded related to them, discussing them properly in my own playlist of HTML CSS. You can figure out that, you can point out in that you can learn all of the properties in a great depth related to text, related to background, related to transform, and related to XYZ things. And with this, we will close our normal CSS and we will discuss one last topic of CSS, which is called responsive web design. But what do we mean by responsive web design? That's the first thing that we should know. Okay. But before that, we will take a break of 10 minutes and then we will start our class. Yes, I am taking break earlier because it's namaz time, and then we will continue after 10 minutes. Okay. So what's the time right now? It's 6:48. So exactly at 7, we are going to resume our class, and second half is going to be one of the very important halves in the entire CSS. Remember that, because it's responsive web design, which is the most important fundamental. If you do not implement such thing in your website is incomplete. No one will go to your website, and that's how important responsive web design is. So we will discuss that after this break, exactly at 6, sorry, exactly at 7. So please make sure every one of you join back. Okay. Am I clear, guys? I need a confirmation in the chat quickly. I need a confirmation in the chat quickly, everyone. Then I will resume the timer. Quickly, quickly. Am I clear? Perfect. So let's take a break of 10 minutes. Exactly after 10 minutes, we are going to resume our class. Don't leave the class because now it is going to be very important. Hey guys, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope I'm audible, right? Am I audible? Am I visible? Perfect. Hello, 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 hi. I can see few yeses in the chat, not more than that. Where are the rest of the people? Okay, let's start. Let's start our session again. So, guys, we have to understand now one of the very important topics in our web development called as responsive web design. Now, what do we mean by responsive web design? That's the first thing that we need to understand, and why it is that much important. Like before this break, I said a statement that when we talk about responsive web design, without it, our website is completely, senseless. We have to give our website a complete sense by implementing our responsive web design. Without it, it's incomplete. So why is that? Because let me give you a scenario. Let me ask you a question first of all. When you open up a website, let's suppose any kind of website in laptop, you are able to explore through this website properly. Let's suppose I will go to a website over here called as amazon.in. Now once I write amazon.in over here, you can see your website looking like this in the browser. But do you see your Amazon website like this inside your mobile phone as well? Is that the case? Is that what's happening in your devices? That this particular same way, same structure is implemented in my mobile phone as well as in device like tabs? No. In a mobile phone there's a different layout that is possible for you, that is given to you. Why? Because mobile phone has a small screen, and in small screen there should be a proper, it should be user friendly properly. The user interface should be user friendly properly. In a tab has a little bit bigger device screen, but over there there's a different layout, maybe there's a different coloring scheme, there's a different xyz things. So our website, if I try to open this website in my laptop, this is how it looks like. Now think about, in my mobile phone, the same font sizes, font family, background color, everything, the orientation is same in my mobile phone. Do you think as a user I will be able to properly explore through it? Of course not. I will be able to explore, but not properly. It will not be user friendly, and I will get frustrated. I will leave the website. So it's that's why it's very important for me to design this website for a mobile phone or for all of the devices. Because nowadays if you see, your device width is as big as 100, what is this called, centimeters, and it's also 2 centimeter width as well on your watches. And we have to make sure that, and all of these devices support internet, like you can explore internet on all of these devices. So it becomes very necessary and very important for us to make sure that our website is properly designed for all kind of devices, even if not for all, but at least for mobile phones, for laptops, and for tabs. So our website should be user friendly, and our website's interface should be implemented and properly explored on all of these devices. Let's take an example of this Amazon. And if I simply go inside the inspect over there, you can clearly see there's one option called as device toggle. So if I hover on it, it says toggle device bar. Right now, my website is opened in a laptop, and this is how it looks like in laptop. But if I try to open up it like this, you can clearly see this is how it will be in my mobile phone called as mobile S32. But do you think I am able to see what is on my device? Of course not. Basically, this is how my mobile amazon.in will behave in mobile phone. You will say, sir, no. Actually, basically what's happening, the websites that have their mobile application, they don't care that much about responsiveness. Though even if you go to amazon.in over there, it will properly work, maybe not. But they have their application, that's why they don't care about it. They know that in mobile phone their application will be used. But let's talk about any other website. Let me go here. Let's talk about W3 schools. Okay, so if I go to W3 schools over there, this is how my website looks like inside my laptop, inside my bigger device. But now if I try to go over there and inspect it, this is how it looks like in the mobile phone. Don't you think it's properly, explorable over here? Like this is how it should be in a mobile phone as well, right? But think if it's not like this, and then I try to open my website in a mobile phone, this is how it's going to be. You cannot see your nav bar properly. There's no proper nav bar here. There are a lot of issues that we might face, but if I implement a proper responsiveness in every single device that I can think of, my website will properly work. And this is what we need to keep in our mind, that our website should be properly designed for mobile phones, for laptops, as well as for my any kind of device, whether it's tab, whether it's big laptop monitors and xyz things. Am I clear? And with this, if you actually take care of this, we actually say our website is a responsive web design, responsive website. So we need to understand how can we implement our responsive, at least from concept perspective, we need to understand that. Then if we create a project in HTML, CSS this week, then we will implement responsiveness in that as well. Okay. Now let's go over it in our website and let's talk about how we can implement responsiveness and how we can make sure responsiveness is there. When we talk about layout, we have already learned two types of layouts that take care of responsiveness to some extent. And we have already discussed a lot of things which actually take care of responsiveness. Number one is display flex. Do you remember that if I try to decrease the device width, my elements were also trying to shrink according to their content? Have you observed that in display flex or display grid? And that's what's happening. In my display flex, to implement responsiveness, we implement one of the properties called as flex wrap. That if there's an overflow, start creating another rows or another columns. And that's what we have mean by our flex wrap, right? So over there's already responsiveness. We already have understood somehow to some extent what responsiveness is. If we talk about our, let me create a file. Okay, let me create a file with the name of rwd.html. Okay, if I go over here and if I try to create a simple website, let me create a simple website and let's try to open this in our browser, and let me open this over here and divide my screen into two parts. Now see, let me create a h1 tag. Okay, in this h1 tag I will simply add a text called as Adfar Rashid portfolio. This is the website, Adfar Rashid's profile. Okay, something like this. Done. Now what I want to do is I want to implement a style on it. So I will simply go write style, and for this I will target my h1 and I will simply get font size. Now font size is equals to, let's suppose, 80 pixel. Now once I write 80 pixel, this is how my Adfar Sheet looks like. And if I open this Adfar Sheet in a browser, you might say, sir, it still is good. Though I have implemented it 80 pixel for my laptop, I think it is a good size. But let me try to open the same Adfar Rashid in my mobile phone. You can clearly see it actually got expanded to multiple lines. Do we want that? Sometimes maybe, sometimes not. But we have to make sure that if I open this website, let's suppose in a mobile phone, that is, let's suppose, let me keep it 100% and let me change the mobile device. Where can I change the mobile device? I think it's not getting completely loaded. Let's change the mobile device over here. Sorry. So let's suppose I am trying to open it inside iPhone 14 Pro Max. Over here, I would not want a single text to take this much of width or height of my mobile phone. So I will try to take care of this. Maybe I will simply implement over there. Remember, we discussed few of the units called as REM that are relative to the root element browser, what browser is implementing, which means what device is implementing on it. So maybe I will simply go and tell it over there 1EM. So if I implement 1EM over here, it's automatically trying to adjust it. Do you see? It's very small now. And on the same time, if I try to open up in my browser, this is how it looks like. So we have discussed already. We have taken care of some things inside my course before this as well. So this is how it looks like inside my laptop device. But if I open it inside my mobile phone, this is how it is. So it's trying to actually adjust itself, because the units that I am using are relative to what browser's device as well. So that's why we use REM. That's why they are too much used instead of pixel. If I say, let's suppose over there, instead of 3EM, if I say, let's suppose 50 pixel, it will be 50 pixel for my laptop, for my mobile phone, for any kind of device where I will open it. And we do not want absolute length units on every single device. For my laptop there is a lot of width available, so over the 50 pixel makes sense. But if my complete width of the device is 50 pixel, what am I going to do? In that case we would not want that. So in that case we have to implement a technique with which we have to make sure even if I use pixels, I have to somehow take care of different devices. And for that, we use one of the very important concepts called as media queries. There's one very important concept called as media queries. As of now, look at this website. Okay, let's suppose right now by default, whatever you know style you implement, it means implement this style on each and every device. Whether we talk about our what is this called mobile phone, whether we talk about laptop, whether we talk about tab, any kind of device, this style is implemented. But I don't want that. I simply want that, okay, keep the default font size of this particular h1 tag 50 pixel, even implement background color over there. Let's suppose background color is somehow blue violet, because for laptop or for all the devices this is what I want. Maybe over there make a color over here of white. This is what I want, normal style for this. But after that, I don't want this style on my mobile phone. Somehow I have my UI UX designer and I got to know on my mobile phone this color is not suitable. This color is suitable on my laptop only. And this big size is suitable on laptop only. It's not over here. So for that, what we have to do is we have to specifically target that particular device and tell it when this device is hit for this website, at that point of time implement this style. And for that we implement media queries. Now how do we implement media queries? That's something very important. There's one small syntax that we write. This is what we do, guys. A simple question to all of you: how can you tell me there's a difference between mobile phone device and the laptop device? Simply based on the width of the screens. Mobile's device width may be less than 300 pixel. Tabs width may be somehow between range of 500 pixel to 700 pixel. Laptop is 900 to 1200 maybe. And in a similar way, the device screen is what differs them. So if you want to implement your CSS based on the device width, one of the options that we can use is called media queries. So how do we implement media queries? We actually use a rule called as @media. Then @media, then after that we put a space and we write our media type. For example, we want this media query to be implemented on screens, whether it's laptop screen, whether it's mobile screen, whether it's tab screen or any kind of screen. I will simply write screen. And then we write and then we put our condition like this: please implement this media query on the screen where my maximum width of that particular screen, the maximum width of that particular screen, let's suppose is 500 pixel. Okay, now when I say 500 pixel, what does that mean, guys? When I say 500 pixel, it means all the devices less than 500 pixel. Is that what it means? If I would have said minimum width 500, it means greater than 500 width. So maximum width means all the devices where the maximum width is 500. In those screen devices, implement your selectors now. So for example, for this H1, now font size, I don't want it to be 50 pixel, but for such device, I want it to be 25 pixel. For such device, I want my background color to be, let's suppose, green. I got to know that green looks very good on my mobile phones. Let's suppose green yellow. And then I got to know there's a color property that we have, and that color property is black in these devices. Now look at this. If I now go to my web application, try to go to inspect tool, my media query is right now implemented. Why is my media query implemented? Because you can clearly see right now the width is 430 pixel. The width is 430 pixel, and 430 pixel comes into this category. So that's why you can understand I have implemented this particular H1 on all the screen devices while the maximum width is 500 pixel like this. Am I clear until now? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. And honestly speaking, I am very much hurt today because I can see only 20 people here that have stayed up till end. I'm not sure whether we will continue this course now or not because this is not acceptable. Like I am freeing my time honestly for all of you. Okay, and I wanted to give class from 10 to 12 because I usually go somewhere else in evening and I cancel those plans for all of you. And I can see here 20 students only. And that too, I know who four students are. They are my family members. So please and please, not sure what we should do this batch with, from now on. But let's hope something positive will come out of it. And please join always. Okay, let me see what we can do. I will take a decision tomorrow, I guess, related to this batch. What we are supposed to do. Okay, because but this 20 students are not acceptable. There are 290 students in the WhatsApp group. 290 students. Okay, and a lot of students are just taking this batch for granted. So it's better that you join, stay always, or you leave the WhatsApp group. That's it. Simple as that. Okay, this message is for all the students who might watch this class later on or who are here but are not that much serious. You can leave the WhatsApp group. You can even leave the Google Classroom. You can even leave any kind of WhatsApp group. So please and please, this is not the acceptable number, 20 students, right? Like I already have, if you are thinking that I'm doing it for YouTube, I already have complete series on HTML and CSS on YouTube. I already have that. I already have uploaded all of the videos related to HTML and CSS. I'm doing this for because of one student texted me, sir, I'm not, I don't have that much money to pay for expensive courses. And because of that, that made me realize there are a lot of students that might not be able to pay serious money. And these courses that I'm teaching you, trust me, the same content I deliver for 4 lakh courses as well. So if then I need something in return as well. So please and please, I request all of you to think about it and be in the class, even when you know the things. From next week, we will try to start JavaScript, but only under one condition when I see more than 50 students in the live session. Only under that condition. If I do not see 50 classes, this core batch will end. Okay? Moving forward. I hope this media queries wala thing is very, very clear. Okay. Now let's understand one very important point. Okay. You can see as of now, if I drag a little bit down, you can see a number there, which is 656 right now. It's a device width. If I try to reduce it, I told it as soon as my breakpoint hits 500, implement the media query. You can see as soon as it goes less than 500, it implements the media query, right? Now, if there's one very important thing that you need to understand, very important thing, okay? We have a meta tag over here. Whenever I create a breakpoint, look at this particular code, guys. We have a meta tag over there called as viewport. But what does this meta tag do and why is it always in my boilerplate? Let's try to understand that. Let me remove this meta tag as of now. Let's not keep it there. And now if you see, even if I go over here and try to implement my device toggle, is my media query getting implemented, guys? Do you see my media query getting implemented? No. You cannot see my media query getting implemented even for a device width where 430 pixels is there. So if I go over and toggle my devices anywhere, it's properly working. But as soon as I change my device from laptop to mobile phone, my media query is not getting triggered. And that's what this meta tag does. So meta tag name viewport and content width is equals to device width initial scale 1.0. This meta tag lets my HTML document know. This meta tag lets my HTML document know which device I am being opened into. Like with help of this meta tag, my website becomes intelligent enough to know which device I am being opened into. And if you remove this meta tag, your website cannot support these breakpoints in different devices. So that's how important this meta tag is. Like all the 20 students, Arka and Basu, who are very much serious related to this class. I have the list of 26 students who are very serious. 26 students. I will start a separate batch for them, a Google Meet batch. Okay, this batch was the only agenda behind opening this batch was to give content free to the maximum audience we can have. But if there are only 24 students who are serious, and also 27 students are submitting the assignment, 30 students are submitting the assignments, with respect to all the students, I can create a separate batch, a Google Meet batch. I don't need in that case this YouTube batch, and I can control those 70 students in a proper way as well, right? So that's why the agenda behind opening this YouTube batch was completely different, to keep sessions open for everyone at any point of time, but for serious students. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing that many serious students here. Okay, perfect. Let's pay attention over here now. So we have understood what this media query means. And it's not necessary that there will be only one tag, which means, let's suppose there's one other tag called as h3 tag. Okay, and this h3 tag, or instead of h3 tag, I will simply go create an image tag. And for this image tag, I will simply dot slash images, and inside that images there's image called as download.jpg. And if you look at this particular website, there's an image as well. Now, if I try to open this image inside my mobile phone, it looks very small. And I don't want my image to be this much small in my mobile phone. I want it to be a little bit big. So what can I do? What can I do? I will simply go to the media query that supports this breakpoint. So I will simply go here, and I will simply below this h1 inside the same media query, I will tell it for my image tag, go over there and implement my width is equals, let's suppose, 150 pixel. Then go over here, implement the height over there as 150 pixel, and then finally implement one simple thing, and which is implement the border radius over there, and border radius is what? Let's suppose 100%. So now if I go in the output, this is how my image looks like in the mobile phone, a circle image. But on the other hand, if I go to my laptop, it's not circle image. So based on what the device width I have created, I am able to change the style. So can I at this point of time say, guys, that my website is responding to different sizes of the devices, different widths of the devices? And if it is responding, in that case, a website that we create is called responsive website. I hope that makes sense. So this is for all the devices where it is the maximum width is 500 pixel, which means for all the devices less than 500 pixel. But let's suppose I want to target all the devices that are between 500 pixel and 700 pixel. What am I going to do in that case? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Now it's not like all the devices less than 700 pixel, no, or all the devices greater than 700 pixel, no. But I want to implement a specific kind of design for all the devices that fit this range now, which means from 500 pixel to 700 pixel. Let's implement one other media query. So media at the rate of screen over there, and I will simply tell it where my maximum width is colon equals to, let's suppose, 700 pixel. Okay, and over here, let's suppose I will simply give it h1. Sorry, for my h1 tag, I will simply give, let's suppose, color or background color as, let's suppose background color is somehow caded below. Let's see when this caded below will be implemented. As of now, we can clearly see my device width is 605 pixel. So that's why my background color is caded below. But let's go over there and let's implement less than 500. So even when the device goes less than 500, it is still caded below. Do we want in the less than 500 caded below, or do we want this style to be implemented? We want this style to be implemented. But unfortunately, this is the style that is getting implemented on all of the devices where the device width is less than 700 pixel. So we would not create such kind of media queries that are conflicting, because it's completely obvious that this device width actually comes up into this device width as well. Yes or no? I need a complete yes or no from all the students. Yes or no? Yes or no? This maximum width 500 pixel automatically comes into this as well. And we somehow, when we create such kind of thing, this h1 tag loses its essence. We would not want that, but we would want to implement actually a better media query over there. So what we will do is we will tell it a range. Let's suppose I will simply go it and tell it the minimum width, over there. So I will simply go right min width. Okay, please target the elements where the minimum width is equals to 500 pixel. Okay, and then let me close it, and my maximum width is this. Now what does this mean, guys? Can anyone tell me what this means? It means a range of devices where the device width varies from 500 to 700. So it's a range. The style will be implemented only on the devices where the device width is from 500 to 700. If I implement a range, if I want to implement a range, this is how I will implement it. So now it makes sure this media query is independent. This media query does not affect another media query. And you will, if you have to be a web developer, you have to understand, you have to understand how we can implement media queries. Saeed is asking a very important question. Sir, but we are writing same code again and again. We are not writing same code again and again. We are just making sure in every device there is going to be a responsiveness. Let me give you a better example. Let's talk about a real example that you might see in your websites on the internet. Okay, let's go here and let me create a website with the name of rwd1.html. Look at this. I will create a website in which I will simply try to create a header. Okay. And inside that header, I will create a nav bar. And inside that, I will create a list item, and that will have an anchor tag. And this anchor tag will simply point to, let's suppose, as of now, to nothing, but it will say home. Okay. Then I will simply say Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. Let's suppose 5 Control Vs. Okay. Let me try to open this in my web page. So I will go in the output and let me try to open rwd1.html. Okay, and you can see your home like this. Pay close attention. This is the answer to Saeed. Okay, he is having a confusion that we are kind of writing the same code. Maybe he's saying it because in every media query I am targeting the same element. I am targeting the same element, but it's the demand. It is how it is going to be. But let me give a better example over here. I will go and implement style, and in this style, I will simply tell it for my header. Okay, please go and implement the background color as f0 f0 f0, although you can see the change in the output, but let me implement a little bit darker than this. So this is what the background color is. Ignore style. I'm not interested in style, honestly. Like the coloring, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in responsive web design. You might think sir has a very wrong background choice, but who cares about that, right? And after that, I will go and implement some padding. Okay, now padding is, let's suppose, it's going to be 10 pixel. Now you guys will tell me, as of now, inside this header, you can see all of these elements are in a single column. I want to make them in a single row. What is the property that I will use? Quickly, what is the property that I will use? Quickly, guys, come on. Very good. You guys will say display flexor, because as of now their flex direction is kind of column by default, because that's how they work. Now, in order to make them into a single row, I can use inline block, or I can simply implement display flex. Right? We will implement display flex. But why do I have to implement display flex? Do I have to implement display flex on header or on nav? That's what my question is. On header or on nav? Where will I implement my display flex? Where will I implement my display flex? On nav. But even even implementing display on nav, if I want the elements a single row, I must target the parent, which is nav, not header. Okay, but as of now, let me implement display flex here as well. There's a reason behind that, because I want to implement nav. I want to change the implementation of nav. Okay, nav, I want to change the implementation of nav with respect to its container. If I would have to implement flex on my header to make them into a single row, you can clearly see they would have already been in a single row and they are not right now. But now, since it's display flex, I can now implement justify content property. So I will simply implement justify content center. So now my element whole nav is at center. Yes or no? Whole nav is at center. Very good. They are at center. After that, I will not implement any other property. This is how what it's going to be. After that, I will simply tell in my header, there is a nav. Okay. To that nav, please go and implement not background color. Let's not implement background color, but let's implement display flex directly. So once I implement display flex on the nav itself, you can clearly see they are in a single row. Okay. And let me remove these dots. How do we remove these bullet points from list items? I will simply go target all of the list items and I will simply tell them list style type is none. So if I implement list style type none, you can see now there is no bullet points to all of these elements. But now, since header in my nav element, I have implemented display flex. Now I want to implement some gap in them. So what can I implement? I can simply implement gap is equals to 20 pixel. Will that work? You can clearly see there's a gap now between all of the elements. Okay. After that, I will simply go and to all of the individual items, let me give them background color. So background color is equals, let's suppose the background color that might be caddied blue. Although I'm not sure why I use caddied blue always. And let me implement padding as 5 pixel. And then I will simply implement border radius over there is equals to, let's suppose, 20 pixel, something like this. So this is how my, although let's implement uh, 0 over here, 0, and then I will implement 20 pixel. But what does 0 and 20 pixel guys mean? 0 to top and bottom, 20 pixel left or right. And let's implement top to bottom as well. Okay, so let me go here, let me implement 5 pixel from top to bottom. Very good. And you can clearly see it looks like this. Also, we can implement our color is equals to white. I think white will look good on this color. Okay, although white is not getting implemented here. Why is that? Can anyone tell me? Even when I implement color is equals to white, you don't see the text becoming white, because text is not of list, text is of anchor tag. So for that, I will simply go and tell it target all of the anchor tags that are inside my list and make the color of them as white. Okay, now you can see they are white. After that, I will implement font size little bit. Let me make font size is equals to 10 pixel. And if I make 10 pixel, although it becomes very small, let's make 20 pixel. So 20 pixel looks like this. Now a simple question. You can see on every anchor tag, there's an underline below every single element. How do I remove that underline? How do I remove anchor, this underline from all of the elements? How do I do that? Anyone? How do I implement that? Very good. Text decoration, none. So I will simply go implement text decoration, none, like this. Okay. Now I have a simple question to all of you. Okay. As of now, you can clearly see this is how my website looks like, right? If I go to my inspect tool over here, do you think this is how the website should look like for all of you in my mobile phone? This navbar, this how it should look like? I have a question for all of you. Is this how the mobile phone should, this website should look for, like in mobile phones? Of course not. We would not want such thing. Maybe in this case, we would simply tell it, this is not how I want. I want, in this case, a proper column of these elements, which means in my laptop, the layout was my normal layout, which means in a single row. But in mobile phone, I would not want such kind of implementation. But what I would want is I would want a proper column implementation. So that's why I will implement it. So I will simply go here and I will implement at the rate of media. Okay, media. Then I will simply go write screen, and then I will write and my condition, which is maximum width of the devices, where it is 500 pixel. Let's suppose in that particular case, please target. Now tell me one thing. Over and look at this. Look at the website. This is how the website looks like when it's in the laptop. Okay, and the element is nav header list anchor. These are the elements. Now to make sure in this media query, my flex direction is going to be column. What do I need to write over there? Column of nav. So I will simply go write nav. Very good. Now what is the property that I will write here to make it into column? So do I need to write display flex, then flex direction column? Do I need to do that? That's what my question is. In order to implement flex direction column here, do I have to mention display flex here? Display flex here. Do I have to mention that as well? Display flex. The answer is no. We don't have to mention display flex. Why? Because to this nav tag, I am not writing this particular content inside any media query, which means this property will be implemented by default on every single media query. By default, unless and until you override it. So if it is display flex, let's suppose over here in this, I will simply display grid. Now it will be overwritten over here. But if I don't write display property flex, it will not be overwritten. So I need a property called as flex direction. So let me implement flex direction, which is column. So now if I go here, try to zoom it, let me open it inside the inspect. So let me open it inside the inspect here. So now if I go here, you might still see, sir, okay, so my flex direction is not getting implemented. So let me implement 100% first of all. Sorry, 100%. Why is this media query not getting implemented? That's something that you need to understand. Why is that? Flex direction is column. Inside my header, there is a nav. So why is my media query? Sorry. Why is my media? Sorry. What happened? I closed something. Not sure what. Okay, leave it. So this is my media query. Why is it not getting flex direction column? Flex direction column. Maximum width is 500 pixel. Okay, so it's R extra R. Right, very good. So let me implement extra R, and you can clearly see now it's a column. Right, thank you so much, Pradna. So you can clearly see now once the media query is hit, now they are visible to us. This is not how we will create navbars in our website. This is not the real implementation. Like this is not how we will implement navbar. But do you remember when you go to a website like this? If I open up my website over here, let me try to make it a little bit big. If I try to open up this website like this, let me go here. Let me try to increase the size of it. So I should have directly written 300 pixel. Let's do something like this. When I click on menu, do you see this is what it's creating? Like in this media query only, a column of the items. Now this column of the items is going to be because of the property flex, maybe, or maybe some other property. But the point is, I will get this menu only under one condition, when the media query is here. Now, if I try to open the same website in normal way, if I don't implement media query, let me close this. Do you see such kind of thing anywhere? A menu? No, there's no menu. So this menu was there only when mobile device was hit. And once mobile device was hit, I changed the property. Now, there's one another thing over there. Let's suppose I will write, let's suppose these properties that I am trying to implement are for laptop only. So in that case, what I will do is I will simply go and write target those media devices at the rate of media screen, and where my minimum width is, let's suppose minimum width is what happened. Minimum width is, let's suppose 900 pixel. And then over inside these media queries, let me try to control X this code. Okay, so I will simply go and paste all of this code here. Now, if I go to my web application and if I try to open it, you can clearly see my design is properly implementing here. Everything is properly working. Why? Because right now my device width is definitely more than 900, and my breakpoint. This is called a breakpoint. This whole thing inside CS is called a breakpoint. This is called breakpoint. Okay, this is called breakpoints. Now my breakpoint is target all the devices where the minimum width is 900 pixel. So if minimum width is 900 pixel, which means target all the devices where the device width is greater than 900 pixel. And this style is getting implemented there. But don't you think this style is going to be limited for this media query? Exactly, yes. Now, but now if I go inside inspect and if I open mobile phone, there's no style that is getting implemented on my elements. Why? Because in this media query, there's not any default CSS and I'm not writing any CSS over here. So if you start writing everything in media query, you have to write then you have to repeat same selectors, same properties. Yes, with different values, but in every media query. That's why we first of all write somehow some default style there, which is normal. Like I know even in mobile phone display has to be flex, even in laptop display has to be flex, even in tab display has to be flex. So instead of writing display flex in mobile phone media query or in other media query, I will directly write it default. Okay, but the property, let's suppose the property over here for anchor tag is text decoration none, and I want in my mobile phone text decoration none as well. It's not necessary, then I will write then in that case the same property over here. So I will not write text decoration none here. It does not make any sense because it's already none for all of the devices. So who asked that question, sir? I'm repeating. So you need to understand one thing here. You will repeat the property which you want to change only. If you don't want a property to be changed, if you want it to be same in the media query as well, why would you overwrite it? Why would you write it again with the same value? So I'm writing only the property which must be written to display the change in the output. Am I clear? Am I clear with the media queries? Yes or no? Am I clear with the media queries? Yes or no? Right? And there are a lot of types of other options here. Like we have orientation, landscape. If my mobile phone, let's suppose what I want is, guys, have you seen like you have your mobile phone, right? And you open up your website, then after that you simply tilt your phone like this landscape, and even in landscape you execute your you know what is this called, website. How can we target such kind of thing? How can we implement such breakpoint? Now what is landscape? By the way, landscape is where height is less than width, right? Or vice versa, where height is greater than width. You can implement any kind of way. It depends on your understanding. But the point is landscape. How can we implement landscape? In that case, if we want to implement landscape, you just have to remember that in that case, my media query will somehow look like this. At the rate of media, and then I will simply go write screen, and then I will simply and over here I will write one of the values called as orientation. Now this orientation means what is the orientation of the device, and over I will simply write landscape. So once I write landscape over there, so this is what will happen if the height is greater than the width. If that happens, this media query will be implemented. I hope. Am I clear? Am I clear? In a similar way, we can target our media queries with respect to the aspect ratio. We can target our media queries with respect to printer as well, screen, XYZ thing. Let's suppose I go over here. I want somehow like this. Let me create a scenario. I have a website. Okay. In this website, let me go back to RWD. And over here, I have a lot of p text, which contains text at lorem 100. So let's suppose this is the document I am working with. Okay. So let me open rwd.html. So this is the website that I am working with. Let me try to zoom it a little bit. And what I want is I want to print this document. But I want to implement one small condition here, which is whenever I will print this document, the background color of this particular text should be gray. Okay, which means when this document will be printed, I want a different style for this particular text content. So what am I going to do with respect to that? Let me try to comment this line of code, and let me try to comment this line of code as well. So over here for that, I can simply write @media, and then I can simply write print. Okay, And then I will simply write over here my code at the rate print. So we need to understand I am writing at the rate print over here example, and how can we implement that? That's something very important. And what does at the rate print mean? Very important thing. Whenever I will write at the rate print, it means it will target the selectors over there with help of what? Whenever I will try to implement my application. Whenever I will try to implement my application. But what does that mean? What does add rate print over here mean? That's something that we need to understand. Very important. Let's target any kind of style here. Okay. And with this, I will simply write background color is equals to gray. What does it mean? Add the rate print. And I told you there are multiple values like add the rate print, add the rate media over there, and add the rate what is this called? Non add the rate media, yes, add the rate screen, add the rate all. So all of those things we can implement such kind of things over there. Okay. How can we implement such kind of thing? Give me a second. Okay. Perfect. I was texting back. Okay. Let's go back here. Now, when I say at the rate media print, what does it actually mean? This is what it means. Now, if I try to print my document, so if I try to print my document, go to Control P. Now, once I go to Control P over here, my device should be having the implementation. Let me not implement on P, let me implement on body. Okay, so if body is this, can I implement such kind of thing? What happened here? So my print, I want to print it, Control P. So it's gray background. No, why is not that not happening? So I want add the print over there. In that case, this should happen. It should take a print media query, but somehow it's not implementing. Why is that? Let me see if I'm writing a correct syntax. Add the rate print. So add the rate print, add the rate print, add the rate print. Why is it CSS printing? Okay, let's see that. Maybe I might be writing a wrong syntax. No, not like this. Yes, it's the correct syntax. Add rate print. Then why is this not getting work? Why is it not working? At the rate media print, please implement body background color is this, and then color over here is going to be equals to, let's suppose, a red. So now if I go to my web application, let me try to open this and print this document. So print this document. Yes, it's implementing. So basically body is not getting, background color is not getting implemented maybe, but yes, you can clearly see color is getting implemented. It was always getting implemented. So that is what we mean by add the rate print. That if this is the document, when I will print it, what is going to happen? So in that case, if you want to target in specific element, do these changes. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But always in most of the cases, we implement our media queries like this. And media query is what you actually need to implement your responsive web design. And there's one rule that we always follow. And I have once or twice I have not followed that rule, and it had created too many problems in a website that I was designing. That was mobile phones first. Whenever you create a website, design your website for a mobile phone. Start implementing your design for the mobile devices first, and then go to the laptop devices. If you start creating your website for laptop devices, then implement mobile phone, there are a lot of problems that you will face. So responsive web designing, there's one small rule that we follow in responsive web design, which is called mobile devices first. It's not necessary, it's not mandatory. Like if you're very good with CSS, nowadays when I was a fresher, even when I had an experience of 1 or 2 years, I used to face problems in responsive web design. Now if I am designing laptop first, then I have to design mobile phone, I am able to design it properly. But if you as a fresher will start designing for laptops first, then will implement it on your mobile phones, then there will be a lot of problems. Lot of problems. You will see unnecessary horizontal scroll, some content going out of flow, some content overflowing, xyz things happening. So that's why implement your mobile design first, and then go and implement rest of the things. Now one thing you need to remember over here, what are the device widths? So device widths, media query, see the range and understand what device widths are. Okay, so let me see, there might be, okay, this one, not this one, sorry, let me see. So we have this one, okay? So when we talk about for tablets, the media query that we should write is minimum width 600 pixel. If we talk about for desktop, media query minimum width is 768 pixel. So for mobile phones, the media query that you should write on screen is minimum width 768 pixel. For your tablets, you should write minimum width 600 pixel. And for mobile phones, I think it's 500 pixel. You can see this is the complete. Okay. Extra small devices, the maximum width is 600. Small devices, minimum width is 600. Tablets, this is the device width, and this is the device width, this is the device width. So you can see the range from the internet on your own as well, and you can clearly see what actually this will yield. So these are the ranges that you should remember as a web developer. You should know which range will target which device. Okay, so for like mobile phones, the minimum width is 600 pixel. For tablets, I mean, for mobile phones, this is the maximum width, 600 pixel. For laptops and more than that, this large laptops, desktops के लिए ये है. So different ranges, you should know such kind of things. Okay, and with this, we have completed our media queries. We have completed our web design properly. There are few concepts that you should know. What I will do is on Thursday, we will have a doubt session. First doubt session of this entire course, not on YouTube, but on Google Meet. This Thursday, we will have our first doubt session. Okay, Thursday or Wednesday, but 100% we will have our doubt session. 100%. Okay, and from now on, we will have 3 classes in our course per week. One other very important point. One very important point, which is I will start JavaScript. And in JavaScript, there must be all of the students that are very serious. At least there should be 70 plus students in the class. Okay. So I will do one thing. I'm kind of hiring a team member as well. Currently, I'm looking for that, and I have already taken few interviews. And there will be one intern who might take doubt sessions related to you guys from apart from what we really do in during the week, who will resolve and solve all of the assignments and launch the assignments on the same time. Also, who is going to filter out the students from the WhatsApp group and going to remove them. Okay, that's the plan. I can see first time in this class 33 students. It's because now I will share the address link, but that's not how this works. Okay, that's not how this works. So your address will be only marked only under one condition: if you have taken more than 1.5 hour class, and that is what will be counted. Okay, you cannot, definitely you cannot mark your attendance like this. Okay, क्या आप अभी आ गए लास्ट के 10 मिनट में और अटेंडेंस मार्क की, ऐसे नहीं चलता है, ठीक है ना. सो प्लीज एंड प्लीज, बाकी मैं कल आपको एक असाइनमेंट दे दूंगा, कल शाम को मैं एक असाइनमेंट लॉन्च करूंगा. प्लीज अटेम्प्ट दैट, ठीक है ना. और ये रहा मेरा एटेंडेंस फॉर्म, प्लीज सबमिट इट एज वेल. तो अभी आप इसको सबमिट करो इस एटेंडेंस को, लेकिन वही बच्चे करना जिनने पूरी क्लास देखी है. बाकी आप जो जिनने पूरी क्लास नहीं देखी, अभी ज्वाइन किया, whether you mark the attendance or not, it does not matter. So it's completely up to you whether you want to mark it or not. Perfect. Do we have any questions, guys? Quickly. Do we have any questions? And also, please like this video right now, because I don't see that many likes on this video. Please like it right now, and put a comment after this video, after this class is ended, live stream is ended, because there are only classroom ID means your name, write your name there, that's it. After this live session ends, there are usually 5 to 6 comments on the video. Even if there are 25 students who are very serious, I don't see 25 comments. Like all the serious students, you have to show me that you are serious, and that's how you will show me. You will submit the assignments, you will join the class, you will put a comment in the video later on, you will share it with your friends, and you will be active in the WhatsApp group. You will ask doubts continuously, and you will ping me directly when there's a doubt that you cannot share with the rest of the students, and I don't see that much interaction from your side. So take care of that, and please put a valuable feedback after the class. Please share and subscribe, and make sure that you share this lecture series at this batch with the rest of the students. So thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone, and see you very soon with live class, not next Saturday, but very soon. See you guys. Bye, everyone. Good night. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye. Do we have any questions? Thank you. Perfect. Give me the feedback as well, but in the comment section after this. Okay. Put a comment after the video is ended. Bye, everyone. Bye. 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 Good night. Bye.